Have you ever really stopped to think about what makes you grab something off a shelf? It's definitely not random. There's this incredibly powerful economic force at play every single time you shop, and today we're going to pull back the curtain on this idea of demand.
We have all been there. You see that big, bright red sale sign and you feel this magnetic pull, right? What is that? Why does a simple price drop suddenly make us want to buy not just one, but maybe two or three of something?
Well, that feeling, it actually has a name. It's all about a fundamental principle called the law of demand. But, before we can even get to the law, we need to get on the same page about what economists really mean when they say the word demand.
Okay, notice the two key words here, willing and able. This is absolutely crucial. See, in economics, demand isn't just about wanting something. You might want a brand new sports car. I mean, who doesn't? But if you can't actually afford it, you're not technically part of the demand for it. It's always that combination of desire and the cash to back it up.
So this brings us to the law itself, and it describes this surprisingly predictable pattern in how we all behave. It basically says there's an inverse, or you could just say opposite, relationship between the price of something and how much of it we want to buy.
It's super intuitive when you think about it. Let's say the price of your favorite coffee suddenly doubles overnight. You're probably going to buy less of it, right? Maybe you make it last a little longer, or it becomes a weekend-only treat.
And of course, the same exact logic works in reverse. If that same coffee goes on a huge sale, you might just decide to stock up. A lower price increases the amount you're both willing and able to buy. This simple opposite relationship is the real heart of the whole concept.
Okay, so why does this happen? Why do we have this built-in inverse relationship with price? Well, it's not magic, it's just psychology. Economists have figured out there are two key effects driving our decisions every single time we see a price tag change.
They're called the substitution effect and the income effect. Now, I know they might sound a little bit technical, but trust me, they describe really simple, everyday thoughts that we all have when we're shopping.
The substitution effect is that little voice in your head that says, whoa, nope, that's way too expensive now, I'm just going to find an alternative. The income effect, though, that's that amazing feeling when a price drops and your money suddenly feels like it stretches further. It's not like you got a raise, but your real income, your actual purchasing power, has pretty much gone up.
All right, so we get the behavior, but how do economists actually measure and analyze all this? Well, they use three really neat interconnected tools, and each one tells the exact same story, just in a slightly different language.
And here they are: a mathematical formula, a simple data table, and a graph. All three of these tell the exact same story about how price and the quantity we want are linked.
First up, the demand function. Now, don't let the math scare you off. Think of it like a simple recipe. In this example, it's just saying that for any price, or P, you plug into the formula, you can figure out the exact quantity demanded, or QD. It's just a really precise way to model how we behave.
Okay, now if we actually use that little recipe for a few different prices, we get this, a demand schedule. It's just a table that lays out all the data. And you can see the law of demand perfectly here. As the price drops from 25 all the way down to 5, look at what happens to the quantity people want to buy. It skyrockets from 0 to 80.
And finally, we just take those points from our table and we plot them on a graph. The result is what we call the demand curve. And that unmistakable downward slope, that is the visual proof of that inverse relationship we've been talking about. A high price on the left matches a low quantity, and a low price on the right matches a high quantity. Simple as that.
But hang on a second. The law of demand in this nice, neat curve, they rely on a really important assumption. Economists have a fancy Latin phrase for it, ceteris paribus. It just means all other things being held constant. But let's be real. In the real world, other things are almost never constant, are they? Price isn't the only thing we think about.
So what happens when these other things change? I mean, think about it. If you get a pay raise, your demand for a lot of things goes up, even if the price is exactly the same. Or a new fashion trend can make some item a must-have overnight. These outside factors cause the entire demand curve to literally shift to the left or right, which shows a fundamental change in our desire for that product at every price. And that leaves us with one last, kind of fascinating question to chew on. We know the law of demand is a powerful rule, but we all see it get broken, right? Especially with things like new phones or game consoles. So what other forces, things like hype or status or that fear of missing out, are so powerful that they can make us completely ignore a ridiculously high price tag?